Good evening and welcome to another episode of Face to Face. Yours truly, Nesta Can. And tonight we have a special guest in the studio who goes by the name of Jose. What's up?
What's going on, bro?
Talk to the mic a little bit there, bro.
My bad. I'm a little rusty. It's been a while.
It's been a while for sure, man. What's going on? What's with you these days? Let us know the update. It's been a while since I've spoken to you and since you've been in the studio.
Yeah, man. Just trying to get over this manufactured pandemic. Just getting back on my feet. You know what I'm saying? Moved. As you know, I went from Georgia to New York, and then I moved back to Harlem, where I'm originally from.
Yeah.
And then I went out to Long Island, struggled for a little bit with the pandemic. Business got shut down or whatnot.
Go ahead a little bit. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, business got shut down a little bit, so we moved out more east to a better neighborhood. I would say it's a conservative neighborhood. It's a really old school, old-fashioned place. And great schools.
Yeah.
It's called West Sayville. Beautiful place, man, over by the coast. And went back to school. I'm going for my accounting degree now. Kept the business going. Decided to let my wife follow her career passions. So I stayed home, took care of the kids. So now I'm in between running a business, school, just trying to be Mr. Mom also.
Wow, it's very rare to see the father stay home and be the mom.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a good sacrifice though.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta insert that same energy with your partner. When you want to equal. You know what I'm saying? When you fall, she gets up. When she falls, you get up and take over. So it's a balance. And she stepped up and said, you know what, I got this. I got sick for a little bit, and she put in the work, and now she's moving up. So that gave me time to go back to school and refine my intellect. You know what I'm saying? To learn my crafts better. Get into economics and accounting and business, and still run my business while I'm doing it.
This must be tough. So you gave up your 9-to-5 job to do all of this, to go back to school and to start your own business.
Yeah, man.
Do you regret it?
No.
Not at all?
Not at all. I do miss, like when I worked for Delta, almost about 10 years, I miss the people. I miss the traveling,
right.
Of course. When I went to the MTA as a train operator, I like the pay, but it was slave labor, but I got to see how the city worked.
Yeah.
And that gave me more foundation on how bureaucracies operate within the government, because as you know, it's a private company, but it's also a government entity. So I got to learn how they try to keep government funds flowing in, so the company can continue to pay out and do these failed projects that probably will never work and things of that nature.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So how was it living in Georgia?
Living in a free state. I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. You living in a free state, bro. Freedom. People don't really truly understand.
And you moved to Atlanta, right?
Yeah,
okay.
No, I moved to Stockbridge.
How far is that from Atlanta?
30 minutes.
Okay.
30 minutes. Stockbridge, Georgia. It's a beautiful county, or was. It was a beautiful county. It's 30 minutes from Atlanta. It's a little cleaner. It's a little safer. They have better school systems, because wherever I was going to, we always tried to make sure
school
systems was best in the neighborhood. That's why we moved to West Sayville now, because they're the best. There's some of the best schools even in the country even. So living in a free state is shocking for some people. But when you get hit with all that freedom, when my kids for the first time went to the Chinese restaurant with my wife. I was at work, and she tells me the story. Oh, Daddy, she says, "Oh, Mommy, look, that guy got a gun. Is he a cop?" She said, "No." It's like, why does he have a gun? I said, because here you're allowed to carry, and you don't have to worry about it, because if he was a criminal, he'd be hiding it. You know what I'm saying? But that's the mentality. She had just moved over. She didn't understand concealed carry either.
Right.
So, going into that whole mindset of family friendly, especially in a free state where culture is more family orientated, versus where you live when you grow up in the city, like say for Harlem. It's not as family orientated, even though the block is unified back in the 80s and 90s, right? You grew up in a more unified block compared to now.
Right.
Kids were able to be freer to go outside until dusk till dawn. You didn't have to worry about them getting a call talking about they're in jail or something. So it was just a breath of fresh air. It smelled like vacation air, like for real. Like whenever you come out, it's like vacation air. It's like it's a completely different lifestyle. Everything's open. You know, you got you're armed, so you're not worried about some crackhead in the train trying to cut you.
Did you have a concealed gun as well?
Yes,
You had one?
absolutely, I did.
But if you're free, why does everyone have a gun down there? Does that make you feel some type of way that everyone has a gun?
It levels the playing field.
You really?
It levels the playing field. Like if we
Makes
really,
people think twice, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you think about it here, right? Criminals in general, criminality is based on opportunity.
Right.
People can name a whole lot of things, but at the end of the day, it's all opportunity. Where it's all based on opportunity. It's easier to snatch a chain and run than it is to go beg for a job at McDonald's and wear that uniform.
Right.
It's a lot easier, and then boast about it on IG and say, "Look what I did."
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You get more brownie points. So when everyone's armed, when you're not armed, there's only two people that have the power: the police and the criminal.
Right.
Everybody in between us, we're not in power. Even though we have the voting power, we don't have the power.
Right.
So we're just victims, and that's where the victim mentality comes from. New York tough. Whereas when everyone's armed, you're gonna think twice, because if I approach you, you're gonna be nicer to me.
Right.
Where like a prime example is the club scene. The New York club scene is probably the gayest club scene in the world. You go to a club in New York, and you have to worry about another man looking at you and getting into problems.
Right.
That's something that's very infamous here in New York.
Right.
Whereas clubs in Atlanta, everybody's going to have a good time. Even the gangsters going to have a good time. Everyone's dancing. You don't see nobody on the wall looking at each other.
Why do you think that is?
It's the culture.
The culture?
It's the culture. It's a more free culture. You worry less because everybody's armed. Even though, you know, they don't let you in the club with a gun, everybody's got one in the trunk. So if you got a gun, I got a gun. Let's just go have fun. You know what I'm saying? It's not all, okay, I got the gun, so I'm superior right now. The person without the gun got to bow down.
Right.
You got to respect the
So
judge.
it makes you feel like a tough guy. You can go out there and, you know.
If you ever had a gun, it makes you feel like Superman. It makes you, because you feel untouchable. Have you ever seen a gangbanger or a gangster, anybody, a hood dude with a gun? He's going to act invincible a lot of times because at the moment he is compared to everyone around him.
Right.
He is now at the top of the pedestal. But when you give everybody the right, you equalize everything, especially women. Because if women are carrying, it's a lot less chances that woman to get raped because she got a gun.
Right. So less chance she get raped, or she doesn't have to worry about up here having a pepper spray.
Yeah, pepper spray. I cook with pepper. I put that on my steak.
So what do you know? Why did you come back to? You came back to New York. What is the biggest difference that you noticed?
When I came back to New York, the attitude, obviously I had to readjust to the attitude.
The traffic? How traffic in Atlanta is pretty crazy as well.
Yeah. When you go downtown, when you go towards the city, oh my God. And then at rush hour, leaving from the city where all the jobs are, yeah, the traffic's bad. But the difference is that you're not in traffic because there's only 2 lanes operating because the same highway has been being rebuilt for the past 30 years, like the Van Wyck. You understand? You have 5 lanes, and it's just a lot of people going the same way. That's it. And it's a huge difference within that structure because politicians are held accountable. Whereas here in New York, you can mess up all you want, and as long as you're wearing a blue sticker, you're good. It don't matter. So that's why things like the Van Wyck has been under construction for like all our lives.
Yeah, I noticed that. So with your kids, going back to your kids, right? How did you grow up for you to always, make sure that the school system is number one, that they're going to have a better life than you? Did you grow up in
No.
poverty? Did you grow
I grew up in poverty.
Poverty,
My
going
parents,
to a bad school?
my parents, we were homeless at one point.
Mm-hmm.
My parents got jobs. They got educated. They started. My father became a truck driver. My mother became a nurse's assistant,
Mm-hmm.
and they worked their way. They paid $250 of rent. 133rd Street West, 132 West, 133rd Street in Harlem, heart of Harlem. We were poor. They didn't know nothing about money. They knew nothing. They didn't know how to save. All they knew how to do is spend. It was the poor mentality. So I was never taught how to hold money. They gave us an allowance, and it was $2.50 back then. $2.50 stretched. Yeah, for a week, you'll get chips and candy and all types of nonsense. And within the day, it was spent.
Yeah.
It was like payday. You get paid on Friday. You broke by Sunday.
Yeah.
So it was the same mentality. I had no idea how to use money, how to save money, anything.
Yeah.
Schools were not important. I went to the worst schools. They passed me. I grew up. I graduated almost illiterate.
Yeah. That's what they do. They do the school system. They just pass people on.
I went the year before Regents. So when I graduated, I didn't have to have Regents.
Mm-hmm.
So I graduated with RCT diploma, and I was barely literate, bro. I didn't start learning till my senior year of high school, when I had to put in mad work to graduate because it was my 5th year.
Yeah.
So I didn't start learning till I left school. And I met my wife, who was a natural saver. I was a natural spender. Mm-hmm. She was a natural saver. She was taught, her family, she's Ecuadorian and she's mixed. She's Ecuadorian on one side and Dominican and black on the other. And she was taught how to handle money better. She was taught how to handle money.
Right.
She was taught that schools were very important. Parents should decide where their children go to school. You shouldn't be hemmed to zone schooling.
Yeah.
Because people, and I knew that growing up, that you didn't want to go to zone schools. Because it was,
most parents send their kids to zone schools.
Yeah, because
it's
that's
close to the home and
that's what's available. That's what they're sent. You don't have to worry about this or that. But
those tends to be the worst schools, right?
Yeah, tend to be the worst schools. Half of them turn into other schools now.
Yeah, you're right. Like when I used to zone schools back then, now it's even worse now. But the classrooms were overcrowded, so the kids didn't even really get a one-on-one,
And the teachers were just as bad. Like, what were we learning in school that they weren't learning themselves half the time? It was just that they had more experience because they was already there. They had seniority. What they call it, tenure. They had tenure. So we came into a generation, and this generation came into schooling with a lot of tenure there, and they didn't have to worry much. I remember one time I got in trouble in school, and the teacher was drunk.
Really?
The teacher was drunk, and my mother had to. I told my mother, listen, this lady, she came out smelling bad, and she was acting crazy. She's like, really? And how was it smelling? I was like, it's smelling like why you guys smell on Saturdays.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, and she got in trouble for it, and it's like, and she. I was going to school in the Bronx back then. So then she said, all right, listen, we're going to take you to school in Harlem. Because I used to stay with my grandmother, because both my parents are working. Right. They were both hard-working Puerto Ricans. They migrated from Puerto Rico here, first generation, and they got jobs. We lived in Harlem till I was 16. Then they got it together. I got in trouble, which eventually was going to happen because I was always outside. And they sent me to Puerto Rico for a year. I went to school over there, and then they bought a house, brought us back, and we moved to Queens and lived in Queens for a while. And it got a little better until like the hood kind of migrated into South Ozone Park.
Yeah.
It was kind of crazy for me to witness that happening, because when I came to Queens, I was like, the first time my father was like, oh, we living in the country? I'd never seen Queens. I didn't know what Queens was.
Yeah.
I never left Harlem and the Bronx.
Yeah.
So I never knew anything about, I've heard of Brooklyn. I've never heard of Staten Island until Wu-Tang. I didn't even know it was in part of New York.
Yeah.
Like, that's how poor my education was. And that's how lost I was getting within the system. I was going through the cracks and no one was there to catch me. It's not till I became a grown man where I said, listen, I need to get this together. And marrying the right woman, actually, me being lucky, got me to becoming the person I became.
Right.
Because I think otherwise I'd be like some of my friends who are toothless, or a lot of them are dead. And half of them went to jail. And a lot of them didn't die because violence. A lot of them died because of poor health.
Really?
Yeah. I got a couple of them before the pandemic. A lot of friends, diabetes, heart attacks. That's a big issue within minorities, the diet.
Yeah.
You're not taught. To this day, I'm trying to teach my parents how to eat better. I shaved off almost 100 pounds so far.
Yeah.
I'm trying to teach my parents how to eat better. It's hard for them because they're used to salty chicken, fried chicken. They fried everything. Puerto Ricans eat fried everything.
Really?
Rice with everything, fried everything, double the carbs, triple the protein.
Wow.
It's crazy. So it's to see the progression, because my father has diabetes, my whole family has diabetes. So I wanted to make sure I didn't have that, and I make sure my kids don't have that.
Right. So it runs in the family, right?
Yeah, so I make sure they have a well-balanced diet. They're all in athletics. I had to beg my parents to be in athletics when I was young because they were working.
Right.
So they didn't have time. They had to pay the bills.
Right.
So I had to beg them, like, listen, I want to be on the basketball team. I want to be on the baseball team. So whatever was free and available, I was able to go to, but there wasn't a lot of that.
Well, that's great to see. I always tell people about this. Like, whatever our parents didn't give us, we got to make sure that we break the curse and we give it to our kids.
Absolutely.
And then your kids would do the same thing too. I'm sure there's some things that they're gonna feel like you didn't give them. Yeah. So they'll mix in the great things you gave them with the stuff that they're gonna teach their kids. They're gonna pass it on. So it's supposed to get better as generations go down. It's supposed to get better.
Yeah, you got to be the one to break the curse.
Right.
Basically, right now my family considers me a caveman, so that's probably the curse they're gonna break, because I am a little brutal. As everybody who knows me knows, but I try to be as civilized as possible as I've gotten older, because like, you're not that young pup no more. You can't act like that with everyone anymore.
Yeah. Are your kids in private school?
No, they're in public school. They're
but good public school.
Great public school.
Great public school.
The public schools of Sayville is some of the best. It's one of the best experiences I've seen so far. I really applaud the people of that town on how they conduct themselves and how they welcome people, and the sense of community. And you're not like outcasted because you're not from there, even though they have a real big thing about being from there. They all want to stay
diverse, there. Like as far as like blacks, whites?
No, it's not heavily diverse, not at all.
No,
it's not heavily diverse. Now it's getting. I see it happening as I'm an outdoors kind of person.
Yeah.
So I'm always outside. Even when the pandemic, I never quarantined. I never stayed home. I went out and exercised.
Yeah.
I went out and bought everything for my family. I stood in those lines. It's heavily populated, or heavily populated white area.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, it has nothing to do with what we're trying to do, and it's probably about 1%. No, maybe about 4% black, maybe about 1% Hispanic in that neighborhood. The crime rate is about 0.01%. And that's what attracted me, the crime rate and the education. I want to be sure my kids are safe.
Yeah. And
I want to bring them around a culture where it's safer, where the hood mentality isn't predominant. That was my goal. And I didn't care what color, if it was Asian, diverse, white. I'm looking at the numbers because before I move, I do my homework. So I want to know what's going on in this neighborhood. What's the worst that can happen? Even though that's impossible to measure,
right.
At least you have an idea from the past what's going on there. So it was all on the metrics, on what I saw in that neighborhood, and I was willing to spend the money. Me and my wife were more than willing to spend the money to live in a place like that. Then we could have gone back to the boroughs and probably paying half, maybe even a quarter of the rent. if we applied for some kind of subsidies.
Right.
So it's like, to me, it was worth paying my way to get my kids the best educations and the best things they can experience. So now my kids are all in sports, all three of them.
Yeah.
My son is currently doing tennis, my oldest, my 14-year-old. My 2-year-old, my 12-year-old is doing volleyball right now.
Oh, it's a little different.
Yeah, and my 6-year-old is about to start soccer again. He was just in swimming and in basketball, and it's like it's a revolving door. We in and out with the sports.
Yeah,
and we're making sure that they do their homework, and I teach them beyond what the schools teach them. Something that I felt I had to break from what my parents taught me.
right.
They taught me my parents taught me how to be cordial, which was important. I teach them how to be cordial. They had no idea how to teach about money. So that's the one thing I wanted to take to my kids.
Yeah.
So they can learn about money and to be cordial. You know, my 14-year-old is a pain in the ass, like most 14-year-olds are.
Yeah.
I try to teach them to be as respectful as possible, but it's hard because the internet and their friends, everyone has a hand in it.
Everyone has a hand in it.
Yeah, everyone has a hand in it. So it's just a community thing.
Yeah.
So it's like you can do but so much as a parent.
Yeah.
And just hope for the best.
Hope for the best. That's what you say. You got to raise your kids a certain way, but you got to hope for the best because with social media and your friends, it's gonna play a factor.
Yeah, what used to call it in our day, peer pressure.
Peer pressure.
They used to call it peer pressure. The talking points of the 90s.
Right. So let us know about your business. You have your own business. Let's talk about your business. What kind of business do you have?
I'm actually a reseller. I've been reselling for a long time.
Like on Amazon?
Yeah. I used to sell on Amazon.
Okay.
I just do eBay and Mercari, mostly in someone Poshmark. I resell used things. I did sell regular merch for a while, but I saw sneakerheads are probably some of my favorite people.
Yeah.
Because I resell a lot of sneakers. I resell a lot of video game systems.
Oh.
And there was a vintage boom about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's withering, but it's still there where people are still buying vintage
stuff.
Yeah, video games especially.
Video games, yeah.
And now I'm into like military or outdoor paraphernalia, like army compasses. And,
wow.
Yeah, knives. Anything that I can turn, anything that what someone considers garbage, and I make money out of it.
What do you say? One man's trash, the next man's treasure.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's value in economics. Value is actually objective. Right? Sorry, subjective is it? What you think is worth, like I can think this is worthless or that's worthless. That's worthless. To you, that's probably your favorite cognac, your favorite tequila. You probably won that, and it means something to you. So you're willing to pay for that or pay for this. Where I'm like, no, I wouldn't buy that.
Right.
You understand? It's all on what. Markets all built on what one person perceives the value of something is, and they take that and they try to make that profit or what someone thought was less valuable.
I remember one point, I think last time I saw you were selling some AirPods or something.
Oh yeah. I got in trouble on Amazon for that. Apple came after me. Amazon came after me. I was ignorant to the game. I was new. I was a fresh pup.
How did they find out that you're doing it?
Bots and algorithms. They don't play. Amazon is a machine, bro. Amazon does not play with their technology and their copyrights.
So I guess when you're selling, you have to put the title of what's being sold. So I guess
where Apple has a copyright to where you sell anything as close as possible to their product.
Really?
They will flag you and say no.
Even though if it's like something you bought for Alibaba that looks like theirs, and
they don't play that.
They don't play around.
It depends on the parent company, which is Apple, is what I was dealing with. Apple is very, very strict with their copywriting and their patents. They do not play. Their patents are everything to them. So they had a big war with Samsung for a while.
Yeah.
What's the chip company? Apple's,
TSMC.
Yeah, they've been going at it with everybody for a while.
For a while,
They're very
yeah.
vicious. When
Oh no, Qualcomm. Them and Qualcomm. Them and Qualcomm. Yeah.
I used to be.
They just settled it. I remember we used to do stocks and stuff. We used to talk about it. So yeah, they settled it a couple of years ago. I think 2 years ago, right around the pandemic.
Yeah, they figured there's money to be made. Let's stop the nonsense.
Yeah.
So it's like once you get that accord, Qualcomm gets its revenue. Apple gets his revenue, there's enough for everybody. Yeah. That's how they feel about it at the end of the day. Unless they feel like somebody's being skimmed. Then Apple's relentless.
Right.
They're relentless. So I just took to eBay and Mercari and
I've heard of Mercari.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Like I also do a lot of with online retail arbitrage. Basically I'll buy something from someone online and then I'll resell it again because they didn't know the value of this. Like I bought a Army compass, probably paid $6 for it.
Yeah.
I bought it, the person selling it obviously didn't know the value of this.
Yeah.
So I took it, resold it for $40.
Yeah.
That's just a simple transaction of how you can just flip something really quick. So sometimes they won't even get to my house by the time I sell it. Use the same pictures, and by the time it comes to my house, I gotta send it back out.
I found out about that arbitrage just recently, like sometime like last year. Sometime I saw a YouTube video. Someone told me about it during the pandemic because we were all talking about how we could make money and stuff like that. And there's a video where a guy he rents a U-Haul truck and he gets like heaters. He'll go to Home Depots and he'll travel really far. He'll see where the prices are very low. He'll go. He'll buy them, but he'll buy like the what do you call it? The
industrial.
The forklift to get the whole slab. He'll get the pallets. He'll get the pallets and he'll buy the whole thing. Like he'll buy a whole bunch on the pallets. Wholesale. And he'll put it. They had a place to store it in the basement, and then he'll go in and he'll sell it for twice that. And then they paid a lot of money, like almost $10,000 or so, but they made back more. Yeah,
capitalism, bro.
So you can make money with that arbitrage thing. It depends on what you're buying.
Yes, no, it depends on what your business model is. What are you going after? Are you going after the quick buck? Are you holding for the bigger payoff?
Oh, I thought just one thing. I thought just a bigger payoff.
There's plans to everything. There's never nothing, whenever you hear a politician or a commercial telling you how simple it is, nothing will ever be that simple.
That simple.
Nothing.
Right.
So it all depends on your business model. It all depends on the niche you're in. If you specialize in something, you can start off selling whatever. Sooner or later, you're gonna find somewhere where you can specialize, and you'll know how to manipulate that market, how to navigate in that market properly. And you'll figure out your business model a lot of times through that way. When, like I did, learning within the process rather than going to business school or whatnot.
Right.
So I learned the old-fashioned way.
So your business is doing pretty well now. Is it bringing in some money where it helps out around the house?
Yes. It pays the bills. It helps pay the bills. Sometimes it pays the bills, and sometimes it doesn't pay anything. That's business. Sometimes 1 week you'll make 1,000. The next week you'll make nothing. That's just how business goes. It's part of anything.
Yeah. And how are you doing in school right now? Like, how far are you?
I'm in my second year right now. I'm in the honor society. They tried to fish me into this whole you pay and then they give you this Greek letters and all that nonsense. I'm not with that.
And what school is this? Oh, it's online? Everything's online?
Yeah, I'm online because I'm not vaccinated, and you have to be in order to attend class in New York State. Not only do you have to be vaccinated, you have to be vaccinated, and you have to be triple vaccinated. You have to have
triple. Wow.
Yeah, you have to have the current what's it called, the shot after the shots.
Oh yeah,
the booster. You have to be boosted in order to attend class in real time. So I don't go to class in real time, and.
But it works out for you anyway because you get to be home and
it gives me my freedom.
Freedom, yeah.
So I get to go to class wherever I want. For example, during the pandemic, I took a little part-time job just to even things out because things were slow. And while I had my mask on, I would have my headphone on one ear, listening to my book, to my textbook. So I will multitask. When I work out, I'm listening to my book. To whatever the lesson is, I'm listening to lectures. I'm doing whatever I can. I'm trying to be as efficient as possible with my time in order to acquire all the knowledge I can to succeed. So I cut the TV off, I cut all the nonsense off, and I sit there and I concentrate. I focus on school primarily. So I've been getting great grades. I'm just going to a county school right now, Suffolk County.
Yeah.
But I plan on going state school after that. And what is it, Stony Brook? I'm planning on going to Stony Brook after that. And for my accounting degree, I'm thinking about economics. It's a possibility, but I think accounting is the right thing for me. I like numbers.
Nice, yeah. Let's switch it up a little bit. Let's talk about politics. Oh. He said, "Oh, you like that." What's your thoughts on this war in Ukraine?
Ukraine. All right. I'm not a nationalist, which means I'm not 100% America should just do their own thing, but I prefer we take care of our problems first. Yeah. We have a lot of problems. Both sides can agree that we have a lot of problems, and we need to focus on those problems, whether they're manufactured or not, whether they're real or not. We should be focusing on our problems. Like,
what's some of the problems you think we should be focusing on at home? People say that too. We should worry about our problems at home before we meddle in other people's business in other countries.
We should prioritize that way.
Yeah.
My main concern is the economy.
Yeah.
That's a big thing for me. I'm huge on the economy. I don't like the direction it's going. I didn't like the direction of the economy for a long time. There's been a few presidents right now that have steered a deficit, and Congress has always been Congress. For as long as we've been alive, the majority of Congress have been in office, even longer, even most of the time, like the current president, who's been in political office for 50 years. Yeah. You got Bernie Sanders, 50 years. Nancy Pelosi, 50 years.
Wow, it's a lot.
It's outrageous. Like, why do we keep voting these people? I mean, I understand where youth is ignorance. The definition of not literally, but the definition of youth is ignorance. So when you elect a young person, they're very ignorant to everything. They just see what they see. They don't have the peripheral. Whereas experience, you have that peripheral. That's like, you could think about it in sports, like the guy that's been in the league 15 years is going to see something before the young guy does. So of course they have better stats because the peripheral, like think of Madden where the quarterback vision goes like that, right? Spreads out as you go from, let's say I don't know, what's a rookie quarterback, Trevor or whatever, to Brett Favre or somebody. Yeah. The vision goes like that because that's the peripheral widening. The vision is widening. The experience is building. So when it comes to politics, the economy is probably the worst it's ever been, and it's probably going to get worse.
Worse, yeah.
And
we're like in $1 trillion debt now, right?
Yeah.
And it's growing.
30, we're passing 30 trillion. 30 trillion.
Do you think U.S. will ever get out of that?
Not in our lifetimes. Not in our lifetimes. Bro, if a trillion, I think you can count, if you were to take $1 trillion, I think you spread it out, I think you can reach the sun and back with $1 trillion.
Imagine 30 trillion.
Yeah. So it's like we just gave $800 billion to Ukraine, and God bless them. I hope they get through this. I do not support the invasion. Yeah. I do hope they get out of this. I do hope they win. I'm rooting for the underdog. But at the same time, it's like, where are we getting this money from? And why isn't it being given to the people here? What would $800 million do in any hood?
Yeah, 800. Is it million or billion?
800 billion. Sorry.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's 800
billion. What would that do in the hood? What would that do to the homeless veterans? What would that do if, let's say, if you were truly battling poverty, right? Right. Like the United States has been doing with subsidies for 50 years, right? Welfare and all that, Social Security, whatnot. If you were truly in the battle of poverty, what would $800 billion do if you gave it directly in the hands of Americans? Would they spend it? Yes, but they wouldn't be poor anymore. They would probably become poor. Right. Right? Because it doesn't matter if you have $100 or $1 million. If you don't know what to do with that money, you're gonna spend it. Right. Right? So, but regardless, what that kind of money could do in this country of $800 billion that we don't have given to a country with plenty of neighboring countries around it that should be helping them. I mean, Ukraine is part of.
They said it was part of Russia.
Yeah, it's
And
originally.
they said Putin wants his country back.
Ukraine is actually the ancestral home of Russia.
Okay.
So it was originally Russia stemmed from Ukraine.
Oh,
it was
wow.
a part of the Soviet Union, and as a Soviet, it's where the big famine. One of the big famines happened because
Was
of
that
socialism.
the USSR?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they had a big famine over there. And 3 million people got killed through socialism over there. They broke off, became their own country. And it's like, there's an argument to be said, they're a part of our country, but now that they are sovereign state, like, who is anyone to come in and say you're not?
Yeah.
You understand? It's like, but then again, countries war. And they're trying to imperialize. Russia's an old country.
Yeah.
It's in Asia, it's an old country. Just like China's an old country. It's older than the United States. Both countries are older than the United States.
But I guess, the whole mindset is that America watches certain moves. Like, they know that. I've heard what I've been hearing too is that the U.S. used to be the only biggest superpower. There are many superpowers, but at one point they were on top. But the other superpowers like Russia and China are creeping up.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes down to when you talk about the military, the U.S. I heard has more nukes, but then the other countries who have like more subs and more jet fighters and stuff. So it kind of like. Other countries are catching up to the U.S. basically.
Yeah, well, we're superior. We're superior in armed forces.
Armed forces, but then China is bigger and have they more power in terms of manpower in terms of soldiers. Because they have more. They have yeah.
But where the real money, where the real power lies is within the GDP, which we are number one, bar none.
Right.
That's why we are still the superpower.
Yeah.
The superpower everybody wants to be.
Right.
Everybody's trying to emulate us. Meanwhile, you have people trying to argue why aren't we like everyone else.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the rest of the world is trying to be like us because we did it in such a short time.
Right.
So that's why you see socialist countries dabbling in capitalism in order to continue to imperialize, because a country like China has been imperializing for centuries.
Right.
There's nowhere in the world you can't turn to where there's in a Chinatown or a Chinese restaurant or, in the West Indies.
Yeah.
There's plenty of Chinese people there.
Yeah.
In Puerto Rico, there's plenty of Chinese people. There's Chinese people everywhere. They've been imperializing forever. They go within the busloads and they buy neighborhoods.
Yeah.
You understand? They've been doing this way longer. It's just that we didn't have socialism to hold us back. Capitalism brought us to where we're currently at right now. As the government grew, as capitalism in the country grew, then government had to grow with it.
Yeah.
So that's why we have such a big government now. But as far as military power, we're number one. I don't really count the whole nuke thing because it's like, the way I look at it is, I'll have one nuke, you have two, right?
Yeah.
If we nuke each other, it only takes one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you want to take out New York, you take out New York.
Yeah.
If you want to take out California, you take out California. So nobody wants to get into that situation.
Right.
So it's like they talk it. The news the news has to make their money, so they're gonna scare you with it. But within those realms, behind closed doors, I'm only speculating. It's my opinion.
Yeah.
They don't really talk that nuke talk.
Mm-hmm.
To them, is because it's like, who wins once we nuke each other? Once we nuke each other, who wins?
Yeah,
What do
right.
we do after that?
Yeah.
So it's like, there was a point in time where that happened, right? But we're in a place now, it's like we don't want to lose our footing. Also, what isn't talked about is in economics, China and the United States are probably brother and sister when it comes to how we move economically, right?
Yeah.
Because we are not a manufacturer like we were in the 1940s, 60s. We had the Industrial Revolution in the 20s. We are a service provider. That is where we are dominant.
Yeah.
We Apple, Amazon, Tesla, we come up with the ideas and the software We send it to China because it's economically cheaper to get it done there.
Yeah.
They manufacture, right? They make it cheaper. They devalue the dollar. They have slave labor. It's all types of shit going on over there.
But they said China got hooked up on this. Now they're raising their prices. But then now the U.S. is trying to find other places like Indonesia and other places where they can get it done.
Wherever there's less regulation, that's where you're going to go. Less taxation, less regulation. Notice though they're not going to they're not bringing the jobs here. Yeah. Because taxes are going to go up sooner or later. Because in order, what people don't understand is when they talk war and they talk the economy going down, it's to make you get comfortable with the idea of taxes are going to go up sooner or later. So it gives the government that leeway to play with the economy and say, listen, we need more tax revenue because we've overdone it. And the only thing that's going to happen is they're going to overdo it again. It's a revolving door.
Do you think the U.S. only jumps in if they feel it's going to hurt something that they might hurt like their money in terms of, for instance, like they're watching what China is doing with Taiwan. If China has an eye on Taiwan, and Taiwan is the semiconductors, the chips over there, TSMC, and other things as well. And just like years ago, when Saddam Hussein invaded, Kuwait, and then he tried to go to Saudi Arabia, the whole major thing with it was oil. So whenever they see other countries starting to invade other places, and they're like, wow, that's something that we really need. Like, do you think that's what's going on now when they see Putin going from Russia to Ukraine?
I think they want to make you think that's the idea. I think the U.S. government wants you to think that they have morality on their side because they want to bring the country together in some way.
But they say the U.S. doesn't jump in unless it's something that's benefiting them. Is that true?
In my opinion, right? It's just my opinion.
Because they said we're a corporation. That's what they call our country, a corporation.
Oh yeah, they're gonna demonize all kind of things.
Yeah.
It's the easiest thing to do. When you're the top dog or when you're successful, the easiest thing to do is to demonize it.
Right.
So they're going to do things like call the United States a corporation when it's actually the opposite of that. It's a collective of corporations, if anything.
Yeah.
Collective of people. But with Taiwan, I thoroughly believe Taiwan will get invaded. I hope Ukraine fights this off, but I don't think we're going to get it physically involved. No. I don't think we're going to get involved. If China wants to take over Taiwan, we financially and
that'd be a bloody war.
Yeah, I think we're just the only thing. The most that'll come out of it is maybe a semi-cold war, but I don't think it will be a physical war between China because we need each other. China is a developing country under the world order, World Business Order, or whatever. They're still considered a developing country, even though they're eons older, centuries older than us, but their GDP per capita is nowhere near ours. We're number one by far. So, but they're growing at the fastest rate.
Yeah, and they said they're way ahead in technology.
Oh yeah, we are number one. That is our speciality.
Yeah,
we invented because everything happens here. We incentivize innovation in America. That's capitalism. We incentivize innovation, right? And so because we incentivize innovation, all the world's geniuses come here, all the best doctors, engineers, everybody comes here, right? To get that freedom to innovate. Whereas when you innovate in other countries, a lot of times it'll be for the government.
Right.
So they'll send the brightest and the smartest come here. That's how you have the best surgeons, the best everything, almost. Of course, we're not topping everything. I would never say something like that. But people come here to get that knowledge or that experience because they're free to do so here, whereas they don't have government overlords watching on making sure they excel and capping what they do.
Yeah, they said a lot of the people, if you look at it, who the billionaires, they're from other countries, other part of the world.
Like
Elon Musk, all those guys.
He's from South Africa.
All those guys are. If you look at all the guys who are hedge funds and all the guys, a lot of people who are from India that
Yeah.
are billionaires that are here. If you look at the backgrounds for all the billionaires on the Forbes top 400 of Forbes, they all come. A lot of them come from other countries.
But you got to also think about it.
Because they said
United-
what they said. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, go ahead.
A lot of them grew up in poverty.
Yeah.
And they knew they wanted to come here. Let's say America is where you could,
You could be
the land of free.
You could be a multimillionaire within a day. You could land on the plane,
Right.
and become an instant multimillionaire.
So-
Buy a lotto ticket, you're a millionaire.
Right.
Only in America.
So they grew up in poverty over there, and they knew once they come here, they had the drive and determination to make it, and that's why they made it over here.
Yeah,
You
because-
think that's true?
Absolutely. Success is incentivized here.
Yeah.
The better you do, the more they incentivize it.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? It's the way our country was built was to give tax breaks to those job creators, to those
Yeah.
innovators, to those people that invest, to risk everything you have. Right? The government says, "Come here, risk everything you have," or "You're born here, risk everything you have, and if you succeed, we'll cut you a break."
Yeah.
And as long as you create jobs, right, we're good,
Right.
right? Because people think like, oh, corporations don't pay taxes. People don't understand taxes who say that.
Yeah.
People just don't understand taxes, the way or business for that matter. People but you got to also understand that the United States is 300 million. It's a small country. You look at some size like Russia, the continent of Africa.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's way larger, way more people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So there's going to be more everywhere else. It's just that here it's where the stars are born.
Yeah.
It's where we sensationalize things. Chefs, pimp my ride, mechanics even. Like we incentivize the wildest things.
Yeah.
Because we're that rich. We're so rich. You got to understand how rich the United States is and how rich capitalism has made the entire country as a whole, not just corporations. We're so rich that our poor die of obesity. Where else in the world, and even in the history of the entire world,
It's the opposite. They die of starvation.
There's nowhere in history in the world where the poor die of obesity. They by definition, the poor have nothing. They starve to death. You understand? We so rich that our poor die of having too much food. They will die with an iPhone in their pocket, flat screen TV in their living room.
Yeah.
They're poor, paying $250 a month for an apartment that they've been in their whole lives. You understand? And their grandmother lived downstairs.
Yeah.
It's such a rich country. And when you have such first world problems, the only thing you can do is create problems. You must manufacture problems in order to create a struggle and get someone else in power. At that point, you can find problems. Yeah, there's problems everywhere. I'm not saying it's perfect. There are problems. But a lot of times, if you want someone to pay attention, you have to manufacture something so egregious where something has to be done, but nothing is still done.
What are your thoughts on Biden?
Worst president of all time.
Wow.
Worst president ever. Worse than Barack. Worse than Carter.
I remember Barack was there. Now Biden takes
Yeah,
it.
it's only been a year.
You know what's so crazy? Everyone wanted Trump out because all the things that Trump was doing in office, things he was saying and tweeting and stuff, and they had a whole hype with Biden and what's her name? The vice president.
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris. Everyone was saying Kamala was celebrating, and once they got into office, it's like no one wants them anymore. Everyone is like disappointed because we expected more from them, and we just get in the total opposite.
Well,
what do you think he went wrong or is going wrong?
Where did he go wrong?
Yeah,
staying in office for 49 years as senator. That's where he went wrong. And it's all on the voters. 100%. It's all on the voters. It's not the media. It's not social. It's 100%. On the voters. They thought, like you said, they wanted Trump out. They felt they wanted Trump out. People blindly hated this man so much because so many movies and shows and programs.
Yeah, it made him look bad.
Yeah, and his mouth did not help him.
Yeah,
of course, but they thought they wanted him out, right? Because that's what you were made to be thought. If you don't know what's going on, you're gonna listen to something and say, you know what, that's probably right.
Yeah.
Because they're not asking for evidence.
Yeah.
The average person is too busy in their mind to say, you know what, why don't you prove that? They're too busy for that. So they took the sound bites and the things that didn't matter, and they demonized a guy that probably is one of the best presidents, at least in my lifetime.
Oh, Trump?
Yeah, it's a strong, in my lifetime, it's strong between Clinton and Trump.
Yeah.
Those two.
How about Reagan?
Reagan, I wasn't alive for Reagan. I think I was just born.
Oh, you only talk about people who you're alive.
Yeah,
and
when I'm
actually
alive. Reagan was obviously better than Trump in a lot of, because he was way more articulate. He what he did and where he brought the United States is something that hasn't been replicated in a while.
Yeah.
Before him, but Biden is probably
worse than Nixon.
Oh yeah, he's way worse than Nixon. Let's
Carter. How about Carter?
Worse than Carter.
Wow.
We got to put it in perspective. This man ran for president. He ran for president, I think 3 times. All 3 times, he had to get out of the race for plagiarism.
I never know about that one.
He ran a few times. He is known in the political world as a buffoon, right?
Yeah.
When Barack Obama famously said, "Never underestimate Joe's ability to fuck shit up."
Oh wow, he said about Joe.
He said that about his own vice president.
Was he joking about that?
He would say he's joking, but why would he say that? He was known for being a buffoon before and being loose-lipped before. That's why when he was under the Obama administration, he was told to shut up, basically.
Yeah,
shut up.
They had him in the back. They told him to shut up. I remember
shut up, and I'll handle this, because I got what Obama did was he did some groundbreaking shit and said, I'm going to use the internet, right? And I'm going to get these young people out the house and come vote. These young people are going to come out for me.
Right.
And he did something that Trump replicated, which in the 2020 election they took away from him. He used the internet as a tool to get his message across, the whole hope and whatever the fuck. I don't even know what was the message. I actually voted for Barack in 2008.
Yeah.
I was fooled. I liked his message over
the whole change.
Yeah, I liked it because you want something different. You want, when you're young, you don't know any better. You want something. You want a cavalier. You want somebody that you know that you want to get away from the political mud that's been going on for centuries now.
Right.
And what we did, what Trump did was where Barack pretended to be that. Trump came in and was actually that.
Yeah.
And he's the change we all been asking for.
Make America great again.
And people and the left was able to do what they always do and take that message and turn it into a racial thing like they do every 4 years. Every 4 years.
But why did if Barack knew that? Why did he have Biden in his corner? Like, you want to have someone strong as your vice president
because he was.
What did he have? What did he bring to the table?
Where his instability in youth and ignorance, right, to how things work.
Biden was older, so he knew.
So it's great strategy where Barack went after the young.
Yeah.
Now he can go to the older voters, the guys who really come out and vote, and say, look, I got Biden. He's been in office 49 years. He's Democrat through and through. Like, you're gonna come out for us? Like, we got somebody here. If I don't work out, I got somebody for y'all. So it's like he played to those emotions to get into office. And it worked. It was genius. You can't even hate on it.
You know, a lot of people who wanted Trump out. They say, "Oh, I wish we might as well should have kept. Should have kept Trump."
Yeah. Now everybody's saying, "Well, everybody."
He's the best of both evils, or is this the same?
best of both evils. Because at the end of the day, politicians are politicians.
Yeah.
It's all bad. Big government or government is all going to be government. But it was nice to see a fresher breath air, somebody that wasn't a lifelong politician come in and shake shit up. It was so bad that his own side wanted him gone because he wasn't part of establishment. Where he was a corporatist, sort of, you can say, he didn't bring in a lot of that politic nonsense of of bureaucracy. He was cutting that shit down.
That's what I kind of liked about it. Even though, when I say this, people are like, "Oh, you're a Trump supporter." I'm not I won't say I'm a Trump supporter, but what I liked that he brought to the table was that he was a businessman. When he came into office, I like the fact that he didn't want us to rely on China. He says, "Listen, we got this thing going on. We in $1 trillion of debt with China. We gonna do things a little bit different." And people were like, "Oh, this guy's at it again. He's doing some stupidness."
Yeah,
He said, "We're not letting them run their technology over here, ban Yahweh, and all those guys and stuff." So I like the fact that he was trying to handle it that way. You know?
But at the end of the day, language won. You see it in some parts of in some neighborhoods, Trump support is a curse word.
Yeah.
Right. Trump support is a curse word. It's like fuck you or you are, whatever you can derogatory term you can throw at somebody. Republican is also a curse word.
Right.
You damn Republican. Like, it's like, when did that become a bad thing?
What do you think about this? Tell me if this is true or not. They view Republicans as being the rich for the rich. Republicans are basically the rich people.
Yeah.
The rich, rich get rich and the poor get poor. And the Democrats are more for the people, the poor people. What do you think about that?
I think that is the biggest load of horse shit ever.
They think the Republicans don't care about the average person like you and I. They just care about the millionaires and billionaires.
It's political horse shit.
Yeah.
When you really take a look, we were all taught this in grade school, right? Big government versus small government.
Yeah.
When you think about the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, right?
Yeah.
The meat of the Republican Party is not the corporations. It's impossible because most of the corporations are ran by liberals. Mark Zuckerberg is a liberal. What's this guy? Amazon.
Bezos.
Bezos is a liberal. Like, it just makes no sense when you really look at it.
Yeah.
You look at the media. 94% is run by liberal. It's 94% of the media is liberal. Look at CNN, MSNBC, Channel 4, Channel 5.
Oh,
Channel
that's why Trump doesn't like CNN say fake news.
Oh yeah, like you really pay attention to what's going on, and if you really go into what a conservative is and what a liberal is, right? Both are for the poor. Like what the difference is establishment, right? On the right, they believe that if you work hard and apply yourself, you can make your way up, right? In the left, they believe that if we line things up for you, you'll make it, right? But if you look at the evidence historically, right, what has government subsidies done for the hood, right, versus jobs? Right now, Jeff Bezos is probably more responsible, possibly, don't quote me, it's not a fact, but I'm pretty sure Jeff Bezos is responsible for getting more people out of poverty than welfare has in the past couple decades.
Oh, wow.
You understand? When you look at what came out of the 1960s, right, versus what came out of the 1920s, you look at those numbers, more minorities were coming out of poverty after slavery, right? And then when government subsidies came, when 1960s came, more people got into poverty, became generational poverty, generational welfare. The institution keeps you poor. It's to where the left is so divided. There's two of them now. There's the far left, and then there's the left, the liberals and the leftists, right? Yeah. The leftists will make you think that institution is the problem to everything, right? But what is the party of institution? What is the party of big government? Democrats. It's double speak in an Orwellian sense, right? It contradicts itself.
Yeah.
So, but liberals are for basic rights, right? They're for the Constitution. Once upon a time, right, liberals supported the First Amendment, right? It was where conservatives were kind of like, yo, I'm going to be bluntly honest here. In my opinion, conservatives started cancel culture, right? Yeah, Bill O'Reilly was telling Snoop and everybody they shouldn't be on this and that because they're gangsters, right? And liberals came was like, nah, there's a First Amendment right. They should be, this is capitalism. They should be able to do what they want, right? That was, 15 years ago? Fast forward 15 years, you can't say nothing on the left without getting canceled by anybody. Versus on the right being now the defenders of the absolute defenders of the First Amendment, right? They've always been the defenders of the Second, right? The left has never been too fond of the Second, but you look at guys like John F. Kennedy, who would be looked at right now as a Republican, who's probably one of the most famous Democrats in American history.
Yeah.
He was a gun-toting, tax-cutting Democrat.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. The Democrats are more seem like for the people. Like you said, you got the Obamas.
They're gonna let you think that.
Obama, Hillary Clinton, people who are for the economy, the health care, that kind of stuff. You know,
they're gonna let you think that. But
Republicans are for more like raising taxes. Republicans, they raise taxes, go to war.
I oblige you to look at the last two elections, specifically the primaries, and compare the two.
Yeah.
Compare the Democratic primary versus the Republican primary in 2018 and see if there's diversity there. See where the diversity is heavy. Where we demonize a black neurosurgeon, right? Probably one of the most decent men in history.
Oh yeah, he ran for president.
Yes.
What's his
He's
name
a
again?
genius.
Black guy.
I forgot his name. I actually voted for him in the primary.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
I totally forgot about him too. You think he was good?
He was great. Like, when you pay attention to each side, right, you will notice a stark difference if you pay attention.
Yeah.
That's him.
Yeah. What's his name again?
Ben Carson.
Carson.
They demonize that. Let me tell you something. If you're a person of color, you run on the right side, you will be demonized. And what was it they got him on? That he believed in dinosaurs or something like that? It's like, bro, this dude is a neurosurgeon.
Oh yeah, that's
Like, if you think you're smarter than him,
and he's one of the best neurosurgeons too. Yeah.
It was so serious, right? The man didn't have to run for president. It was so serious where Trump said, listen, these people don't know what they're doing. I will give you a job, please. If you want to directly affect the minorities, help with housing, please. He did not want that job. He took the job because he wanted to serve his country. You understand? Whereas you got career politicians on the left, mostly all white, mostly all old. I mean, look at the current president. The only way he got elected, the only reason he truly got elected is because he made a black woman his vice president.
Yeah, and then recently you see they 2 weeks ago they put up another one, a black woman in terms of like an office. I don't know what the position she had. Right before
you talking about the Supreme Court?
Yeah, this happened right when the Ukraine war just started on that Thursday.
Yeah, they basically. I mean,
I don't know what position she had.
You want to talk about sexist and racist? Like this shit is crazy. Like the criteria to becoming a judge, I want the best person available. Are you telling me that that there aren't enough intelligent, they're not enough talented black, Hispanic, Asian, Indian, Jewish people in this country that we have to basically make it a one lane to where it can only a black woman. That's it. Yeah, that's the criteria.
You know, well, I guess if you look at it, it's probably image. They're trying to make it, history black and a woman. You know, so
they keep trying to do that, and it's good for headlines, right?
Headlines, yeah.
That's
get
all
supporters.
That's all it's for. It's for headlines.
Because if you look at it, I'm not too much into politics like you, but from what I'm on the outside looking in, I haven't seen anything that what's her name, Kamala Harris has done yet. She's been very quiet.
No, she
only shows up only in certain things. When certain things happen, she's there. But other than that, she's just like.
No, she's been very vocal. She's been very active.
Yeah.
She's been actively failing. She's failed up to her position. She was a horrible prosecutor. She's a horrible prosecutor in L.A. Right?
She used to lock up people for weed.
Then
and
laughed about it.
Weed.
And laughed about it, talking about she was listening to Snoop Dogg in college when she was in college in the 80s, and Snoop Dogg didn't come out to 95. 94.
Yeah.
Right? She completely lied about that. Then she went into the primary. Tulsi Gabbard, right? Hawaiian. I don't know what her descent is.
We're going to wrap this up soon, so 2 minutes. Go ahead.
She came from Hawaii and completely dismantled her. And Kamala Harris couldn't even win her state in the primary and had to leave the race. So she actually got promoted through failure.
Yeah.
Right? And she was in charge of the border, failed that obviously. She's in charge of what else? And everything she's done, she's immediately failed. And all she can do is laugh her way to the bottom. Laugh her way to the top.
Yeah.
To where now she's in charge of the thing in Ukraine. It's like she's saying she's going to find out the root causes of what's going on, right? By going to the countries where the problems are happening. But what are you going to tell these countries? What are you going to do there?
Yeah.
You think you can go to somebody else's house and tell them to clean that dish? You gonna tell somebody, yo, clean these windows? No. You can't do that. They'll listen to you and then they'll be like, all right, go away.
Zay, it's a pleasure having you on, bro. I wish we could talk more, but we have a certain time limit.
Yeah, man.
Yo, it's a pleasure having you on the show.
Anytime, bro.
We're probably gonna have to bring you on again to finish chopping it up. Because like you said, you could go on and on and on, bro.
Yeah. I can do this forever, bro. This is economics, numbers, politics.
Yeah, I want to pick your brain about something else, a couple of other things, but we do that for another time.
Yo, just let me know. I'll make the trip.
We'll chop it up.
If I could relate knowledge to others, right? Knowledge is more valuable than gold, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it's something that can get people out of poverty faster than you hand them a buck.
Right.
Right. The fisherman, you give a person a fish, they'll eat for a day. You teach them how to fish, they'll fish forever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're good.
Right.
So I rather spread what I have, right, and let other people know about it than keep it to myself.
Yeah.
Because that way everybody wins.
Right. So before you go, we always say let people know how they can find you, because people want to get in contact with you to find out more information. Probably want to check out your business online and let them know how your business, if it's online.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Right now, I have 2 Instagram accounts, a political account, which is my personal, also simultaneously my personal account, Don Rios at Instagram. Then you have my business account, which is Millie Guap. You can find me on eBay, Millie Guap. If you search Millie Guap, you'll find me sooner or later. I'm pretty much of a private person, so but I'm always available on the weekends. But Instagram's probably where, even though I'm being shadow banned currently.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I went from tens of thousands of likes and comments to I'm being shut down.
Shut down.
Yeah,
depending on what you say.
So I'm
Did Facebook get at you too?
Yes.
Oh shoot! I heard it.
They tried to ban me just 2 days ago for good, but they realized they made an error because I posted a reporter got killed in Lviv. I reposted the article. It was a New York Times article. I reposted the article, no comment, no nothing. I read the article, saw that he was killed. It was a photographer that wasn't working currently for the newspaper. All I did was share it, and they said that I was sharing personal information on somebody. And I asked them, show me the personal information.
Yeah.
So they gave me a lifetime ban for that, and then they said, oh, okay. For the first time in a long time, they said, all right, we messed up. So I got to give them credit where credit's due. They messed up. They saw that, and they fixed it, and they put me back on. So I've been a little more careful on Facebook. I try not to be so blunt, but I definitely do still share my opinions on Facebook and Instagram. On Millie Guap, I'm a lot more business-oriented, a lot more neutral. You won't see any no political or economic paraphernalia from me.
Yeah.
It's more of, get your mind right, positive messages, business, things like that.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, man.
All right. Well, this wraps up another episode of Face to Face. Yours truly, Nessa Ken. Take care and God bless.